Part 4 of naming names of the 41 celebrities who wrote letters of support for Brian Peck in the case of Drake Bell versus Brian Peck. Before I begin, I want to reiterate something that I've been saying in the comments a lot, but unfortunately a lot of people haven't been seeing it, so I just want to say it on camera really fast. This case happened in 2004, so all of these letters are from 20 years ago. So I know a lot of people are saying, but Alan Thicke has passed away already. What are you talking about? I know. 2004, 20 years ago. A lot of people are also asking why I'm only doing 2 people per installment, and the reason why I'm doing that is because it's a lot to digest. There's a lot of information here, there's a lot of people to get through, and it's kind of heavy material, so after a while I think you start to lose the key points. So I try to do 2, but since you want more, I'm going to try to fit 4 into this one. And for the other people who don't know, the reason why I'm doing this now and the reason why these are important now is because a lot of people didn't know that these existed. These were recently unsealed because at the time, Drake Bell was only 15 years old. So all of this information was sealed to protect his identity, and a lot of his names that were dropped in these letters had to be redacted. So there's that too. So for starters, we're going to start with Rich Correll and Beth Correll. They are husband and wife. They got married in 2004. They've been producers and directors for Nickelodeon for countless jobs in the early 2000s. We're going to start with Rich Correll's letter. Again, I've only highlighted the things that I feel like you need to know. If you want to know all of it, you can read it all. Totally fine. It says, I'm aware of the charges being brought against Brian. I must tell you honestly that Brian is a kind, fair, honest man who deserves a second chance and who I believe is aware of the mistake he's made and will forever make good on a chance to prove himself worthy of the leniency of the court. Please consider probation for Brian. I assure you, actually guarantee you, that Brian is a man of his word and will never dishonor an agreement made with a court. He has taken full responsibility for his mistake and will forever be regretful of it. Please give him a chance to make good on his word of rehabilitation and display that his restitution is real. So the only thing that I really got from that was he understood what he did. This is the letter of support from Beth Correll. This is the one that I don't really like very much. I'm sure you'll be able to assume why once I start reading it. Again, these circles are redactions. I'm going to fill those in for you. In 1999, while working on The Amanda Show, I met Drake Bell. I've worked with Drake until April 2004 on virtually every project he has ever done for Nickelodeon. During that time, I witnessed a boy with some talent turn into a young man with an incredible stage presence, and due in large part to Brian Peck's efforts, a star quality emerged. Drake turned into a personable, self-confident performer. I must admit that I was surprised at Drake's behavior after hearing of this case and the charges being brought against Brian. Nothing seemed to change in him at all. On set, he continued to be playful with other cast members and crew. He was always talking about his band and music and appeared to be excited about his future, the show, and his musical career. He even moved into his own apartment. On more than one occasion, while watching her son perform on the set of Drake and Josh, Drake's mother, Robin, would say to me, "Look at him. I'm so proud of how mature and responsible he is." When I heard of Brian's arrest, I was shocked to say the least. I never knew Brian to engage in any type of illegal activity at all, making my living working with children. Had I thought that Brian was engaged in anything inappropriate, sexual, or illegal, I would have spoken out immediately. This man is not a predator. Again, you can draw your own conclusions. I'm just telling you what I've drawn from that. And that was, well, if something would have happened to him, you think that his behavior would have changed. And because his behavior didn't change, I'm led to the fact that maybe he's lying. It's really difficult to explain to somebody that you don't really get to decide how somebody reacts to horrendous things that happen to them. And you don't get to decide how people divulge that information in their personal life. That to me is a wild scope of victim blaming, in the fact that she just, oh, well, he didn't change, so nothing must have happened. This man's not a predator. You don't know that for sure. Just to say this man is not a predator, just because you don't see any changes in the child who claimed that something happened, doesn't mean that this man isn't a predator. You're not in every single room with him at every minute of the day. Again, this happened in 2004, and this is what happened afterward. After serving his sentence, Peck was released from prison in 2005. A year later, he was hired by Disney Channel to work on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, starring Dylan and Cole Sprouse, where he did voiceover work for 3 episodes but had no interaction with the cast or crew on set, per Variety. The outlet reports that he was immediately terminated after Disney Channel learned of his conviction and his voiceovers were replaced. Guess who invited him to work on that show? Up next, we've got Taran Killam. You know him from a lot of things. The Amanda Show, Wild and Out, Mad TV, Saturday Night Live. He's been a little bit of everywhere. His letter reads as follows. When I found out about Brian being arrested, I was shocked. My first thought was, this is a mistake. I know many of our mutual friends had similar thoughts. It's too out of character. I've seen the effects this situation has had on Brian, and I know for a fact that he regrets any mistakes made and that this is certainly not something that would ever happen again. Brian is fully aware of his misjudgment and takes full responsibility, but Brian Richard Peck, my coworker, my friend, is not someone who belongs in jail. I know Brian will do anything and everything in his power to prove to the court that he is an upstanding citizen. He has already taken actions of his own accord, such as counseling, in an effort to rehabilitate himself. He's literally just admitting that he knows that he did something wrong. But he doesn't deserve to go to jail. He just needs to be rehabilitated, and he needs counseling. You don't need counseling. I'm not going to go any further into my personal opinion about that because people have been vilifying me for like 3 days. So do with that what you will. Up next, we have beloved producer Tom DeSanto, who's responsible for the Transformer movies and the X-Men movies, but right now we're talking about his letter of support. Lots of redactions in this one. Again, I'm going to fill it in for you, but this one it's gross. It was through Brian's job as an acting coach on Nickelodeon's The Amanda Show that I met Drake Bell. Drake's father had brought Drake and his high school bandmates to the Sunset Room, a nightclub bar in Hollywood, to hear the band perform. I saw Drake several times, including a performance of his band in Orange County with Brian Peck. Drake always came across as very mature yet complex. It was my observation that Drake was dealing with a lot of personal issues and Brian was someone he could talk to. Drake seemed to be acting one way in front of his family and another around his friends, co-workers, and classmates. This includes having lunch with Brian, Drake, and someone Drake referred to as his boyfriend. Yet he was unable to introduce his boyfriend to his family. Drake also seemed to be very fearful of his father and unable to communicate with him whatever sexual issues he was going through at the time. If you watch the documentary, it tells a different story than that. This is page 2. I feel that Brian can make up for the mistakes he's made by giving back to the society through community service. I know Brian has learned from his mistakes, and if I had children, I would be 100% comfortable leaving them in his care. I hope that the court sees that jail time may be detrimental to his continued therapy and be a step back. Please feel free to call me if you need to discuss anything further. Please give him community service, because if you throw him in jail, he's probably going to go back and do the same thing that he did before. So please don't make him a problem in the community. Just give him community service and I'm sure he'll be fine. I can't with these. I can't. Now, I've had a lot of really mean people talking to me for the past few days. I want to reiterate one more thing before I end this. I am not here to sway you to believe one thing or another. If you do not agree with the way that I feel about things, that's okay. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm not angry. I'm not here to sway you to think the same way that I do. I love the fact that we all think differently. I am not here to blame all of these people for all of the things that they wrote 20 years ago. I'm bringing these things up because a lot of people told me, I don't have HBO Max. I don't know how to watch this. I don't know, who wrote letters. I just want to know what's in the letters that's most important. So that's why I'm doing this. This is not to make myself popular or, to make myself the decider of everybody's feelings or opinions. That's not the point of this. As a parting note, we can all disagree. It's totally fine. I just want for people to see these videos. And for the people in these videos who wrote letters of support 20 years ago, I just want an update. I want an update on how you felt. Knowing all of the information that's now public, I just want you to say whether you still continue to support the man that you thought you knew 20 years ago, or if you saw all this information and you were like, oh, I made a mistake. And if you did make a mistake, I just want you to apologize to the person you made a mistake to. That's it.